Good morning. This is your 10 a.m. daily weather briefing, continuing with some mostly cloudy conditions out there with mainly some mid and high level clouds moving through with a clipper system, seeing our temperatures up in the mid 30s. And going to see a pretty chilly day today, although we won't see the winds like we saw yesterday. And looks like that potential for very slight chance of some light precip not coming together and looking dry as we move through the day today. Take a look at the current surface analysis. We have some weak high pressure generally in control as this system well off to the north moves out. We do have that clipper system though off to the southwest. It's going to be staying south of the area and bring some light snow accumulations off to the western and central Virginia, but again, not expecting any precipitation as we move through the day today. So things are going to look fairly quiet as we move through today and into tomorrow before we see our next chance for some precipitation moving into the area. If we look at the current visible satellite and radar, we can see this cloud socked in over the area with this system, and seeing those radar returns, again, looking fairly light and mainly over the western and eking into the central portion of Virginia there. And again, that's where we'll see that continue to stay and tracking kind of east-southeastward and staying out of the local area. We'll look at the high-resolution model for what we can expect as we move through our weekend forecast. Again, quiet conditions as we move through the day today. Fairly light winds, but we'll see some chilly temperatures, well below average for this time of year, but we will see those winds turning more southwesterly as we go through the overnight time frame. But still just a slight breeze as we move through Saturday, but we're going to see some moderating temperatures with temperatures getting closer to our seasonal average. But overall, looking at a fairly nice and quiet day. We will see clouds around the area, particularly as we get late in the day. As this next system starts to approach, we'll have a trough digging into the region. This is the same trough we've been watching the last few days. It's going to bring a cold front through the region and continue to see increasing confidence that looks like much of the precip will be falling points north of Wallops, generally over the northern part of the peninsula and northwestern Maryland. That's where we'll see most of the precip falling and some potential for a few inches of accumulating snow up in that area. But this front will be fairly quick moving, but as it pushes through, we'll see some precip making it down into the local area, but we're going to see the cold air lagging slightly behind it, so we'll likely see some light rain snow mix hour or two before sunrise on Sunday, and then we'll continue to see that as we move through the first couple hours of the day Sunday, and then that front will be pushing through by the time we get into the mid to late part of the afternoon. We'll see that precip coming to an end, generally expecting less than half an inch here locally in the Wallops area, and then potentially up in the Wacomico County or Salisbury area. We'll see a slightly better chance of seeing maybe a half an inch to an inch, but overall fairly minimal impacts on the southern part of Delmarva. Again, those main impacts will be across the northern part where we see additional accumulation. However, we will see some very cold temperatures behind this front as it pushes through, as well as some breezy conditions. As you can see, this tight pressure gradient. We'll see a wind advisory likely as we move through the day on Sunday and continuing into the evening as we continue to see that pressure gradient quite tight over the area as that much cooler air moves into the region. We'll zoom out and look at the European model here for the extended forecast. Again, we see that departing system early on Monday, still keeping a tight pressure gradient, some lingering breezy conditions through the day on Monday, and some pretty well below average temperatures on Monday, as well as high pressure slowly builds in over the region, but generally looking at dry conditions as we move through the first couple days of the week, and we'll see high pressure staying in control when those thickness values rising, indicating some milder temperatures moving in as we'll start to approach more seasonable norms as we get towards the middle of the week, and possibly getting above average as we get later in the week here. But generally, things looking dry through at least the first half of the week. As we get later in the week, models are indicating potential of another system pushing through late Thursday into Friday. Still a bit far out in some disagreements, but generally could see another trough pushing through with some abundant rain showers along that, but again, quite a ways out to really narrow that down. So looking at the 24-hour weather risk chart for today, seeing green conditions across the board. We'll see mostly cloudy conditions through today and temperature peaking around 39 degrees. See west-northwesterly winds around 7 to 12 knots. As we go into the evening, we'll see those winds become light and variable and clear skies for a period there, and that will allow temperatures to cool down to around 28 degrees before clouds start building back in as we move into the start of the day on Saturday. And we will see a slight warming trend moving into the day with those southwesterly winds picking up to around 4 to 9 knots. Seeing tides running slightly below normal. Saturday, as mentioned, does look nice, seasonable, with a high around 49 degrees, so just a degree or two below our average high. Otherwise, partly to mostly cloudy conditions. Green conditions for our weather risk. As we move into Saturday, we'll see mostly cloudy to overcast conditions. We do introduce that orange risk for precip, as well as some reduced ceilings of visibilities, as that's when we'll expect that light rain and snow mix to arrive just before sunrise Sunday morning. And we'll see some slightly breezy winds start to pick up as we get into the same time frame as well. Seeing that low temperature around 32 degrees, so as mentioned, not quite seeing that cold air catching up with the precip as this pushes into the area. And then Sunday we'll start off with some of that light rain snow mix around the area, and then we'll see that ending by the time we get into the mid or later portion of the morning. And generally, as mentioned, a dusting to less than half an inch of accumulation expected with that. Overall, I'm not expecting anything too significant locally here at Wallops. Seeing slightly breezy conditions becoming fairly breezy to windy as we get later in the day on the backside of that cold front. We'll see that high temperature of 36 degrees, mainly earlier in the day, and then as that cold front pushes through, we'll see a general downward trend in our temperatures as we move through the day. But similar risk chart here for Saturday night into Sunday, with the exception of introducing that red risk for those elevated winds with that front on Sunday. Looking at the extended forecast here as we get into next week, as mentioned, looking pretty quiet. We'll see some lingering breezy conditions and cold conditions for Monday with high temperatures in the 30s and those breezy conditions keeping things chillier. We'll start moderating as we move through Tuesday and Wednesday, but generally expecting quiet and partly cloudy conditions through that time frame, and then some increasing clouds potentially late Thursday with a potential chance for some precip trying to move into the area with that next system possibly coming together later in the week. But we'll see those temperatures start to become milder and potentially above average, with our high expected in the mid to upper 50s as we get later in the week. That's going to wrap up the 10 a.m. daily weather briefing. We'll be back again on Monday at 8:15. Enjoy the rest of your day and enjoy your weekend.